Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in today's video, we're going to be talking about 20 common kitchen items you do not need. So I'm going to be going room by room in this new series as we go into the new year around items that you may have at your home. I don't know, maybe you don't. Maybe you're really diligent and you don't have any of those things, but you probably do. And we are going to be breaking them down and I'm gonna just be whispering in your ear that maybe it's time to let some of these items go. New year, new you. Well, new you, same you, but maybe with a little bit less crap, okay? So that's what we're trying to focus on here. We're gonna declutter a little bit because that's exactly what this is. This is clutter that's taking up space in your kitchen that you just need to get rid of. And that's what I'm here for, is to just give you some ideas to have a fresh new look for the new year. Let's get going. Okay, first up on my list is gonna be pot holders that you don't use or that are burnt or ugly. Listen, I think these like oven mitts and pot holders and all these little things, basically this video is inspired by my mother because it's not hard to like find stuff in her house that she just needs to get rid of. And she has so many of these pot holders that are just burnt. Like burnt from some casserole or some pie she made in 1997 and they've just been hanging on at the bottom of that drawer all these years. You don't need them anymore. You can go out and get new ones. I don't know if you needed to hear this. Someone needed to tell you, but you can actually just go to the store and buy new ones. Now I know there's nothing wrong with the old ones. Yeah, they're ugly and they're burnt and probably not even providing the same protection that you actually need, you know, to stick your hand into a 400-degree oven. So I think get good ones and you'd only need one set. So you might even oftentimes have been given these as a gift. I don't know why people insist on giving these as gifts. We're gonna get to a lot of those items in this list that people gift you and then you just don't need them. But this is one that you have permission to say, keep one good set, non-burnt, not ugly, and that's all you need. Everything else can just be donated, gifted, thrown away, whatever you want to do with it. I don't judge. Okay, next on my list is gonna be extra mugs. Mugs are another gift item, especially for traveling. Like a lot of people like to bring home different cute novelty mugs from all around the world, or they like to gift people mugs from all around the world. Because I don't really care that you, well, I kind of care that you went to Barcelona. I hope you had a great time. And I'm glad you thought of me when you're in Barcelona, but you don't need to bring me a Barcelona mug from Starbucks or whatever you got it. You know what I mean? I don't need that. I don't need a London mug from Starbucks. I don't need a Hong Kong mug. I don't need those things. You go, you have a good time, and you don't even need a mug for yourself, to be honest with you, because I think that mugs, you only need so many. You know, take a look at your family structure. If you're like a person who's 1 or 2 people at home, you might need 6, maybe 8 if you're being generous. If you have a family of 4, maybe get 12. But honestly, if you're rotating your mugs out all the time and you're, you know, using your dishwasher regularly, you don't need as many mugs as you think you do. You tend to accumulate a lot more mugs than you need, and it just ends up taking up a whole lot of space to the point where you're that person who like displays their mugs all the time, which just is a little bit overkill, I think, in my opinion. So just get the right amount of mugs that you need. Now, 2 philosophies around mugs. I am personally a person who likes to have one type of mug and just like have that throughout my entire space, but you knew that already. You are probably one of those people that likes the eclectic mug collection where every mug is unique and interesting and weird. And I think that's great for you. I love that you love that. I do still think though that you probably have too many, and that's really where we're at here. If you are like a person like me that just has like one type of mug and just like has 8 of them, that's actually like a good thing because it means people don't buy you extra weird mugs from Barcelona. So just a little hot tip there. One mug, no one knows to mess with that because it kind of ruins your vibe, and that makes your life a little bit easier actually. But if you're an eclectic mug person, that's fine. Just put a lid on it. You don't need that many. Okay, next on my list is gonna be like extra takeout containers that you've been given from the Chinese food place, or any sort of like old plastic container that you had, like an old margarine container or something, or a Cool Whip container that then you decide to store for whatever. Listen, babes, those are only single use. Like, I don't know if anybody told you that. I know you thought plastic was plastic, but it's not. It's not meant for the dishwasher and it's not meant to be used again. I don't know what you're saving for, but you don't need this many. You don't need them, right? These are meant to be recycled. These are sort of single use, and then there's, you know, there's an issue. And I think people are taking them, they're storing their leftovers in them, they're microwaving them, then they're using them again, and then they're microwaving them again. And I mean, at this point, I'm not the type of person that's necessarily an alarmist when it comes to a lot of plastic use in our society necessarily, but I know that's not good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I even know that's not good. I know a lot of people don't like plastic at all, and I hear you and I get you and I know where you're at. Okay, I get you. I see you on the TikTok and you're constantly talking at me about how plastic is killing us all. I understand. But I think we need to be reasonable, and I think this is a reasonable limit that we need to place on ourselves, is that these takeout containers that we get are meant for one use, then they are meant to be rinsed and of food debris, and then they are meant to be recycled. They're not meant to go through the dishwasher and the microwave 6 more times before you finally recognize that they're disintegrating in your food. So you don't need these. Get rid of them. Okay, so next up, up, sort of on the same line as Mismatched Tupperware, okay? I want you as a fun project for a Saturday morning to take all your Tupperware lids and all your Tupperware bases, and I want you to sync them, connect them, consider storing them that way, although it's kind of impractical because it takes up a lot of space, but just as an exercise, and then figure out where all the little matches are, and then you're gonna put those aside, and then all that other stuff, you're gonna get rid of. You know what I mean? You're just gonna get rid of. It's like mismatched socks. You don't need them. That sock ain't coming back, just like that lid for that Tupperware ain't coming back, okay? I know someone took it to the office and they left it in the break room and now it's lost forever. It's fine. The bottom is just gonna have to go in the garbage, okay? We're just gonna recycle and we're just gonna get rid of them. Everything that does not have a match needs to go. This is also, if you are an eclectic mug person, that's fine for you, but I think you shouldn't be an eclectic Tupperware person. This is one of the areas of the kitchen that I think consistency matters, because finding the top and the bottom, the base, the lid that are gonna, all those things, that matters. And I think buying all one set makes it a lot more likely that they're all gonna be in sync with each other. Just my opinion on that one. But you know, you have too many of these, so you need to get rid of the mismatches. Okay, next up is gonna be extra cookie cutters or any sort of like excessive holiday stuff. We're just finished Christmas, okay? I'm actually not at Christmas yet, but when you're watching this, Christmas will be over, okay? It's done, okay? We're done with it, it's over. Okay, it was great. Wasn't it a great time? So much fun. Now, I think we need to consider the gingerbread men and the little, like, you know, the Christmas tree and the candy canes and the Santas and like all the little stuff that you have, the rolling pin, you know what I mean? Like all that with the shapes on it. And I think it's a lot. Now, if you use it every year, that's fine. If you use it consistently, and you can honestly say that, then find a place to store it that is not sort of in your kind of cupboards that you're gonna be accessing 365 days a year, because let's be honest, you do not need a gingerbread man cutout 365 days a year. You need it like probably once a year. So store it in a place, preferably with all of your other Christmas decorations, and bring that out once a year. But all your other excessive holiday stuff, I would just really pause to think of how much you actually use this year. And that's a good time to do it because Christmas is over. So you can look back and think, you know what, I didn't touch that Christmas stuff this year. So if you only touch it once a year, but you find yourself not even using it then, it's time to go. Okay, next up is gonna be novelty cups and shot glasses. I am not a novelty cup person. I am a pick a glass and choose it forever. I'm a boring glass person, like I'm a boring mug person, which is that I really like simplicity and consistency, which is why I have my Fable mugs and my Fable glasses, and that's all I have. I do not have any other glasses, okay? And I like it that way. I think that the novelty ones though, I think people hold on to these ones for a really long time, especially ones with kids. Maybe they're nostalgic, maybe the kids are nostalgic, but you know what? I think that just because you got it for free at the McDonald's in 1988 and they gave it to you with your Happy Meal, if you're still hanging on to that thing and the like color has long since washed off in the dishwasher years and years ago, you know, it's probably not a collector's item like you think it is, and it's probably time to maybe say goodbye to it. A lot of those faded novelty glassware or the plastic cups that have been there for your trip to Disneyland that you took 6 years ago, I think a lot of that type of stuff, it just is really cluttered. And I think it's maybe, again, it might be worth it for you to find out how many glasses you need as like an inventory, again, based on family size, and then anything that you really love that fits in that category, even if it's a novelty glass, because you're a Minnie Mouse glass person, then maybe keep that in. But once you're starting to keep all the other stuff and you've got like 40 glasses, I think it's time to let some of it go. I definitely think so. And I'm gonna also say shot glasses in the same category, because you don't really need shot glasses as much as you think you do, because you don't drink shots at home because you're not 21. And you also might use it for espresso, but you're not, because you drink cold brew, or you drink some fancy TikTok drink that doesn't use actual coffee, or you might drink occasionally with like a cocktail, but that's like once a year, let's be honest. So you probably don't need shot glasses that often. So the novelty shot glasses, probably that you picked up in Barcelona when you got that mug, maybe time to go as well. Okay, next up is gonna be travel magnets, or just any magnets. I don't like magnets. I just think that it's clutter for your fridge. Now, if you would like to be a person that stores like kids art or something, how cute is that? Sure. If you want to put that on there and you need some magnets in order to do it, that's fine. I just think that a lot of these oftentimes read really juvenile for me and doesn't really read as sophisticated. I know, that's my judgment. You got it out of me, okay? It was hard, but I finally was able to admit the truth. I think that these feel a little bit juvenile, and they feel that they just add to clutter, and they add to the visual clutter of the space. I'm trying to personally try to make the design of this kitchen to be really sort of clean and consistent, and magnets are just not the vibe for me for that. And they might be for you, which is why, again, if you're a magnet person, because you would like to put some stuff on your fridge, I'm not gonna take that away from you. You don't have to do any of this, of course, obviously. Like as is all the case with all my videos, you don't have to listen to a word I say. You can sit there and go, haha, isn't that funny? I'm gonna keep my 45 magnets in my fridge. That is fine, you go do that, I don't care. But consider that maybe limit the amount of magnets, again, to the inventory that you actually need for your space. So if you're actually on your kitchen and you're like, you know what, I probably display 3 or 4 items at a time, the current art that my child brings home from school, because maybe you got a couple of kids or whatever, and you're cycling that on through, you might need like 4 to 6 magnets, but you don't need the 45. And so maybe those other ones you just might wanna get rid of. So pick your, half dozen favorites and ditch the rest, or go magnet free. It's a much better life once you do that, I'll be honest. Okay, next up is gonna be condiment packets. And we're gonna say like plastic cutlery or any of this other stuff. Just buy soy sauce. Like, they sell it at the grocery store, right? They do. It's like right there. It's like, it's so mainstream now. It's just in the sauce. It's like right next to the ketchup. Like it's gonna be right in that area. You might even have an international foods aisle, in which case you've got lots of soy sauces that are available to you at your disposal. So that's fun. You can get really creative. There's lots of different ones out there, but you don't need to keep all the soy sauce packets. I know. You also by the way, have ketchup in your fridge. So why are you keeping all the ketchup packets, right? I know you don't want to be wasteful, but just use the ketchup when it comes, or don't, use it up. It's not, I don't know why you're holding on to that, but it's just clutter. You're holding on for it to year. And despite popular belief or what my grandparents thought, this stuff does go bad. You know what I mean? Like it does take a long time, and God knows how long that ketchup package has been sitting in that cutlery drawer, hanging on for dear life, waiting for its day. But it never comes because you've already got ketchup in the fridge, and that's the one that you actually reach for. So a lot of these condiment package, plastic, whatevers, it's time to get rid of them. Maybe keep like a few sets in case for like a picnic or something. But again, they shouldn't be stored like right there front and center, right there in the cutlery drawer. Keep them in like the picnic area if you choose to take picnics, or buy actual, like a lot of this stuff you can just buy. You don't have to just keep the free stuff that they give you at the Chinese food restaurant. And I think that's really the point of this. Get rid of a lot of the excess packets, especially the ones that have been there forever. You just don't need them anymore. And to be honest with you, they're expired. Okay, they're expired. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be extra rubber bands, or like those bread ties that they use. People just hang on to these ones forever, and I'm just here to tell you that it's time to let them go. Like you don't need that many. You probably need 5 rubber bands, period, in your entire house. Like right now, maybe 3. Honestly, because you don't need rubber bands as much as you think you do. Like they're really not that common, but we tend to just stick them in the pile. I've been to people's houses and they've just got them like wrapped around a banister or something or whatever. They just find a little home for them and they just pile up like 300 rubber bands. What are you doing? What are we doing these? What are we using these for? I don't think we're using them for anything. There's no craft that you're gonna be using these for. I think it's time to just let them go. Consider this new year, new you. We're gonna go and limit ourselves to 3 rubber bands. 3, that's all you get. That's all you need. Okay, next up, we're gonna go with water bottles. Water bottles are like, when did water bottles become a status symbol? Actually, to be honest with you, when I was in high school, it was all about the Nalgene water bottles, and then it was all about like the Swell water bottles, and now it's all about the Stanley, and then there's that new one, Odwalla, I don't know what that stupid one is, but you know what I mean, where they got all the colors, whatever the kids are all raving about. And then some people are back to Nalgene because it's just like, okay, apparently we're just doing the same things we did in 1999. We're just doing it all back over again. I don't know when water bottles became such a status symbol because it is, after all, only water. And here's the thing with water bottles, you only need 1. So that's what you're allowed. Remember, you're allowed 3 rubber bands? You're allowed 1 water bottle per person in the household. 1, that's it. I can't think of a circumstance where you would really need more than 1. There just isn't. So if you've got 40 Stanleys, this is so the Beanie Babies of today, okay? They're not profiting off of these. So I don't know why people are losing their minds over these stupid Stanley cups. And I'm just gonna de-influence them and say you don't need them, you're allowed 1. If you'd like that to be a Stanley because you want the hot water bottle at the moment, fine, go for it. But you're allowed 1. You're allowed 1 water bottle and that's it. Whatever you have in excess of that, maybe if you want to keep 1 in your car. Nah, I'm not even gonna allow that. You get 1, that's it. So if you have more than that, I would consider getting rid of them. Okay, next up on my list is going to be extra cutting boards. I think that you probably need 2 cutting boards is probably all you really need. Anything more than that is probably excessive. Probably, I mean, I personally like I have like a teak house one that's like a really nice sort of wood cutting board that I really love. It's big, it's solid, it's what I use for most things. It's what I use for vegetables. It's got little grooves to catch all the juices, blah, 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 blah. I love that one. It's great. That's probably 1. Now, a lot of people are understandably weird about cutting meat on wood surfaces, and so they might opt for something else. I hate glass cutting boards. Personal preference, I just can't stand them. But I also understand that plastic is also for a lot of people they don't really like, and that's, I think, probably where the glass ones come in. Listen, again, I'm not necessarily afraid of plastic, but I would say that once they start getting really warped, do you know what I mean? When you're like cutting with your little chef's knife and they're like bouncing all over the place, time to go. I also think that when you have too many cutting boards, you don't really need more. I know that Costco sells a 3-pack, but I honestly don't think you really need that many cutting boards. So if you find in your kitchen you have too many cutting boards, more than 2, I would consider getting rid of them. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be old tea towels. Old moldy, I'm bad for this one. I'm bad for this one too. Like, don't keep moldy like tea towels. You know, these are multi-purpose, multi-use, and we use them a lot in the kitchen. We use them a lot while we're cooking, but I don't know if we're washing them probably as often as we probably should be. And we're definitely not getting rid of them as often as we should be. The shelf life on these is probably shorter than the 35 years that you think it is. And so that is maybe a reason why it's probably time to get rid of them. Now, hot tip that I didn't know, but I did a spring cleaning video a couple of years ago, and people in the comment section were telling me this. I did not know this, but dog shelters or animal shelters are oftentimes looking for old linens because they need them for all sorts of things there. So call up your local animal shelter. Don't just like drop them off, because that might not be true. And I'd hate to think that everybody's like, they got this inundated of all these moldy tea towels. So check with them first, but it's possible, according to my comment section, that people are looking for old linens. So I would consider subbing out some of your old moldy linens for some new ones, because again, the shelf life is shorter than you think on these ones. Time to swap them out, I think. Okay, next up is gonna be freezer goods. Freezer goods, okay. I did what we call here in British Columbia, which is the province that I live in. We did this thing called Food Safe. I had to do this years ago. It's like entry level that you need really in order to be like working at a restaurant or whatever. I had to take this little, it's in a person's house, and it does not take long, and it's like the bare minimum that you need to learn about how to like operate with food safely. And I'm proud to say I have my Food Safe. It's not a high bar, but I'm just saying I have that. And here's one thing that I think was really drilled into me in that course that I'm not sure everybody here understands, which is that freezers are not magic. They do not stop time when it comes to frozen goods. They slow bacteria growth. Absolutely, they do. Freezing is an effective way to slow bacteria growth. And again, I'm not a microbiologist. I'm talking food. I'm talking like literally a course that took me 2 hours. But I am saying that although it slows down growth, it does not stop it. Okay, it does not stop it. So those freezer burned pork chops that you have had in the bottom of your freezer for 4 years need to go. They're not good, okay? I think if I remember correctly, again, it was a 2-hour course. I believe it's like 6 months. You could maybe push it, but you didn't hear that from me. 6 months is like probably what you should be keeping your freezer food for before it's time to say goodbye. So if you have food in excess of 6 months, and again, if you like move it into smaller bags, use a Sharpie and write on your Ziploc bag so that you can remember the date that you put it in there. If it goes longer than 6 months, it's like time to go. And I know this because especially people that have like really, really big families and then they downsize. So like if you're like mom and dad and you had like the 4 kids and now your kids are all 30 and like they're empty nesters and now there's just the 2 of you and you're still buying like you have 4 kids living at home for you, you probably have way too much food in your freezer. That's true for my parents. That was true for my grandparents, where it's like, you know, there's just 2 of you, right? You don't need 3 giant chest freezers full of meat. But that's oftentimes I think what people do, especially empty nesters. And I would just say, don't hang on to your food this long in the freezer. 6 months and you're good. So it's time to go through your freezer and get rid of all that extra stuff. You don't need it. It's not only, this isn't even clutter. This is just a biohazard at this point. Okay, next up is gonna be glass mason jars, old pasta jars, any glass jars. You know, we talked about old Tupperware and old like plastic containers, but we're gonna talk about glass because I feel like people have this affiliation for glass where they're like, no. I know, I totally agree with you, Nick, that you can't microwave plastic. Who does that? Who sticks those old plastic containers? Well, are you really that much better by keeping all those old glass jars? Listen, these are more likely to be used for multi-purpose, I guess. Like you could probably wash them and they might be fine a little bit. I would put my money on these glass jars more than I would put it on those plastic bins, let's be honest. I do have an issue with the lid though, because those lids are usually definitely not made for multi-purpose or multi-use, but it depends on the lid. If you go buy actual mason jars, it's better, but oftentimes they go like rusty and gross. Anyway, just a food for thought there as you have your old pasta jar that you're using. These ones though, I think that the issue isn't necessarily so much as like food safety as much as it is for you just have too many. You just have now, you're that person who holds on to an old like Rao's tomato sauce and you just are holding on to it for way too long. Just recycle it. What are you using it for? what do you need it for? Unless you're like jarring your own pasta sauce every year, or you're making your own kombucha or something, and this is why you're keeping all your old glass jars, I just think for the most part, you don't need this many jars. I think if you're the type of person that hangs on to jars, you're probably the person who hangs on to too many jars. So yes, keep a couple if you need them, a couple of mason jars for canning purposes or for storage, but the ones where you have like, 50 of them and you're still holding on to them, it's time to get rid of them. If you have a shelf of old glass jars, time to recycle. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be a kitchen rug. Now, this is one that you could do. This is a stylistic choice. I'm just here to de-influence and say that you don't need one, because Reusable is serving ads on Instagram all the time telling you that you need one in your kitchen. I'm telling you, you don't really need one. They oftentimes are just like trap bacteria and they're not really doing anything. It might help you. It's like soft underfoot while you're cooking perhaps, but for the most part, you're probably more likely to trip on it, to be honest. I think that from a decor perspective, they can break up the flooring, so it could be nice to just sort of have a little bit of texture on the floor, but I'm also here to tell you, don't you need one. You don't really need one. Yes, you can have one. It's a stylistic choice, but I don't think it's necessarily the most functional rug in your home. I'm a big fan of rugs. I like rugs in the living room. I think a rug in the living room honestly completes a space. If it doesn't have a rug, oftentimes, especially if it's a hard surface, I don't think it really looks complete. In the kitchen, it's fine. You don't actually need one. It's nice if you choose to have one from a stylistic perspective, but I do find more often than not, they kind of get in the way when you're cooking. Just a thought, that's my own personal opinion. I don't have one, I've never had one, and I'm okay with that. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be, this one is all of you, okay? And that is an excess amount of reusable shopping bags. I know, you forgot your bags, you go to the grocery store and they're like, would you like a bag? And you're like, well, I have no other plan, girl, to bring home all of these oranges and all this produce and all this stuff that I bought at the grocery store. I have no plan. And then you realize the grocery store doesn't even sell plastic or paper bags anymore. And so now where are you? You're a person who has to buy more reusable bags, which unfortunately are like way more like harder to create and worse for the environment to actually produce than those old paper bags, but whatever, that's what they now give you. And then you go home and you just add it to the pile, and before you know it, you've got like 40 of these. Here's the thing, you don't need this many. You probably need like 2 to 5, 6 maybe, depends on the size of your family. And you just need the same, you just need like cloth ones, or you just need the nice ones, and then ditch all the other ones. Some of these are like so cheap that you're just like, how? Like the Walmart ones are just like, they look like they're gonna disintegrate before they even get to your car. I don't love having a ton of them. I personally just have like, I think I have like a Lululemon one and like a Fable one that I got from an event once, and that's like kind of it. I actually have really tried to get rid of all these. It's hard. You have too many of these, they're just clutter, okay? They're just clutter at this point. You have too many. It's like the whole, like, remember when people saw this, I'm like, remember when people had this, and you probably still have this, which is like those like plastic little rings that you can get at IKEA, and you just like stuff the little plastic bags in, and now it's so full of all those old plastic bags that you just like couldn't fit another one in there if you tried, and you can't even pull them out anymore because they're so like stuffed in together. It's like that. We just have too many. You just need to get rid of them. So extra plastic bags, extra reusable shopping bags. You don't need that many. You probably need max a half dozen. Store some in your car for those situations where you actually need them, and they even sell ones that you can like roll into a little tiny little ball and you can stick on your keychain or shove in your purse. Go with those ones so that you're like never without one. That's a much better idea than just like buying the same stupid reusable shopping bags over and over again, which is doing way more harm to the planet, by the way, than any paper bag ever did, but that's just me. And just get rid of the ones you don't need. Fresh start, plan for the fact that you won't have them when you're at the grocery store, like plan to have them in the car or in your purse or whatever, and ditch the old ones that you don't need, because you have too many. And I know you feel bad about doing it because you feel worse about the environment now that you're getting rid of these because they were supposed to save the planet, but new beginnings, new year, new you. Okay, next up, this one is actually just for me, but probably maybe for you, which is excessive countertop kitchen appliances. I've gone on record that I have way too many of these and I have a problem. It's an addiction. I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it slowly but surely, but I do love a specialized, unique kitchen appliance, and I have way too, like the more specialized, the better. Like egg bite maker, yep, absolutely, got it. Waffle iron, do I even eat many waffles? No, I do not, but I have them. In fact, I have 2, but that's another story. I love a specialized appliance, I really do. But I think you need to be careful with like appliances that you use once in a while, which again should be stored and not displayed on your countertop. I'm at least good for that. And instead, the ones though that you never use, like that egg bite maker, maybe it's time to put on Facebook Marketplace and let somebody else make a mistake. You know what I mean? I think that's probably what is needed for a lot of those. And again, this is like, it could just be a me thing, but I have a feeling it's not just a me thing, because I've seen the Amazon, how many people buy them, and I'm pretty sure that we're not making that many egg bites. So I think it's a mistake that a lot of people are making. And I'm just saying it's time for us to own up to our mistakes, send it off to somebody else, and move on with our lives, because I think we all have too many of these. So if you look yourself in the mirror and find that you have 5 different ways to make varying different sizes, shapes of ice, I think you might be a person that falls into this category, and you maybe need to get rid of some of your countertop ice makers. Okay, next up is gonna be pots and pans that you don't use. Sometimes I can even buy a specialized pan, which I'm not gonna lie, I have like an egg poacher, which I use sometimes. And sometimes there's a lot of specialized pans out there and different pots that you just don't need. Weird sizes. I have one that is so huge that I basically bought it for the complete, like only purpose to basically make turkey stock out of. So when I make a turkey, maybe once a year, I have one pot that I can put. It's so huge, you guys, that I can actually fit an entire turkey in to make stock out of. I'm not proud that I have this, but I do. I have one, and it takes up a lot of room. Is it time for me to get rid of it? I think it is. I think it's time for me to admit that I have not made a turkey in 365 days, and I have not used that pot for any other reason, and I think it's time to let that one go. So think of yourself. Do you have pots or pans that maybe are doing double duty, that are maybe the same size, and you have a favorite that you use, and then you have another one that just sits there collecting dust? Time to maybe consider getting rid of that too. Okay, and then next up we have is cookbooks that you don't use. I think cookbooks can be really great for displaying. I think they can be really beautiful, but I do think that sometimes there are some cookbooks that you're just never gonna use anymore. You know, maybe you did keto in 2021. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you did keto in 2021. And so you bought a cookbook that was like 40 different ways to cook with cream cheese. And that was a really great idea for 2021 you, because you were gonna drop so much weight with your new keto diet. And then you realized that you cooked all 40 ways of making cream cheese, and you decided maybe you were a bit sick of cream cheese. And so that cookbook has now been sitting on the shelf for all these years. That is time for somebody else to take over and experiment with cream cheese on their own without you, because I don't think you need this many cookbooks. Some people have a crazy cookbook addiction, and they have way, way, way too many. I think display in your kitchen, you know, is super fun too. If you have a maybe space that you want to display, and if you use them, then go for it. You know, then that's fine. But I think we all have cookbooks, and if we're truly honest with ourselves, we will say, I have not looked at that book or cooked from that book in at least 2 years. In which case, at this point, it's just clutter. Okay, and then next up, for kitchen items that you do not need here in 2025, I am gonna have to say condiments and spices that you have had sitting in your shelf for way, way, way too long. Take a look at those condiments. How long have they been in there? If you're my mom, they have been in there for way, way, way too long. And even I'm bad for this. I'm bad for this with spices, because I like to once in a while take like a super like out there recipe that I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be so much fun. I'm gonna cook this recipe all the time. I make it once, it's fine. You know, maybe you just don't use Szechuan peppercorns as much as you thought you were going to. You know, like you started to have fun with those, and you started to kind of cook some really creative things, and you started to get outside of your comfort zone, and then you made it a few times, and now you have no other reason to cook with some of these spices. Again, we're not talking about, you know, cumin, coriander, turmeric, chili powder, like black pepper. We're not talking about the stuff that you're gonna use all the time. Those, you're probably cycling through that inventory, but we're talking about the ones that are maybe a little bit more outside of your typical cooking style, and therefore they collect on the shelf for a long time. And guess what? Spices do lose their flavor over time, and it's maybe time to take a look at some of those spices and go, actually, I don't need those mustard seeds anymore, because I had them, they were super fun, I used them for a bit, but I bought way too many, and now they just have been sitting on my shelf for literally years. Maybe it's time just to get some new ones and the old poultry seasoning, and maybe you don't need that one anymore, so maybe time to get rid of it. So I would just really take a look at those condiments, look at those expiry, look at those spices, be honest with yourself, because they don't, oftentimes you don't store the dates on it maybe, and think about swapping them out, because if they've been there, like, do you know what I mean? Like if they've been there for longer than like, I don't know, like 3 presidents ago, I think it's probably time to go. I think it's probably time to switch them out and try something different, and get different spices, or replace them with ones if you think you're actually gonna use them again. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe. If you have found this video fun, I might do this for other rooms as well. This one is very, like, this is kitchen. So this is a lot of stuff that is not really so much home decor, but I'm gonna do living room and bathroom and bedroom and all sorts of rooms if this proves popular. So feel free to subscribe, and you can see that video when it comes out, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.